Hello and welcome to PTV World's Exclusive. I'm Sana Maqbool, and today we're talking about a very important program at the International Nathiagali Summer College, hosted by the Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission. And this is very, very important and integral to the scientific community and, of course, the exchange of ideas and knowledge, which is essential in the ways that we want to proceed further. And so some very important guests are with us in the studios today. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce them and take up the conversation. On my left is Dr. Manzoor Ikram, who's the Executive Secretary of the International Nathiagali Summer College. Thank you very much, Manzoor Sahab, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And on my right is Dr. Hadid Subki, who's the Technical Lead and Project Manager for Small Modular Reactor Technology Development at the International Atomic Energy Agency. Thank you very much, Dr. Hadid, for joining us. And we've also been joined by Professor Claudia de Rham, who's the Professor of Theoretical Physics at Imperial College London and Director of the Abdus Salam Centre for Theoretical Physics. Thank you very much, Claudia, for joining us and being a part of the program today. And Manzoor Sahab, I'd like to begin with you because it's very, very important in the ways that we want to contribute to the scientific community. What we know has been going on for 50 years now. The International Nathiagali Summer College is, of course, bringing a lot of contributions to these fields and something that was started by Abdus Salam as well. So I'd like your take first on its history, on its value and the impact that it has created so far.
Yeah, Summer College, International Nathiagali Summer College was initiated by Professor Abdus Salam.
Yeah.
He gave the idea to have a meeting of scientists from the developed world with the developing countries scientists. He has the view that the scientific knowledge is the heritage of all mankind. They can share their knowledge with each other. And this scientific knowledge cannot be, this scientific research cannot be done in isolation. Rather, the scientists can interact with the scientists from developed world, and they can exchange their ideas. And with these objectives, with these thoughts, he proposed to have a summer college at Nathiagali to bring the scientists from developed world to interact with the scientists from developing countries like Pakistan and other developing countries from the region.
Absolutely, and interesting choice of location, I'd also say. I think you probably had the foresight of choosing that location for everybody to come in together. Is there a particular reason?
Yeah, it is the reason behind choosing this Nathiagali is summer. In summer, the weather at Nathiagali is very pleasant,
Yeah.
and the idea of this holding summer college is to interact all the time, interact 24 hours with the scientist. It is boarding college. All the participants live there, and they interact with the scientists from the developed countries all the way. It is not from 9 to 5. Rather, they interact. They discuss at lunch, at dinners, and even after dinners till 2 a.m. So this is the main reason they
Absolutely.
interact.
Absolutely.
They interact.
And the real conversations, if I may say so, happen in these interactive informal sessions. I think that's truly something that such platforms can provide. And I'd like the faculty members who are joining, of course, this summer college to also share their facts and opinions. Dr. Hadid,
Yes.
I know that you have been part of this about 4 times. Is this your 4th time?
This is my 4th time to Pakistan.
To
However,
Pakistan.
this is my first time to engage in
Oh,
person.
it's your first time for the college?
For the college, yes. This is
All
my
right.
first time. Yeah,
Oh,
but
all right. So when we talk about what the essence of this college is and in the way that we can talk about physics and its allied sciences, how integral do you think this is in terms of the developed world and the researchers and scientists communicating with those in Pakistan and from other developing countries? Because I believe that has been what the founding nature of this program was also, and especially in the world that exists today. It's very, very essential. How
Yes.
much do you think this can be contributed for?
Yes, indeed. First, I would like to second the remark from the distinguished official from PAEC that the distinguished Nobel laureate Professor Abdus Salam Rahimullah said that the scientific knowledge is a shared heritage of all mankind. This is indicate that the importance of dialogue. The two kind of dialogue between developed nation in science and technology, and then they develop with the developed nations with embarking or developing economies.
Yeah.
The third one is basically the communication, conversation, dialogue, exchange of forum among expert scientists from the developing or the third world countries. Yes. So in this regard, that I participate now I come from the nuclear power technology areas, in which that my previous 3 time to Pakistan is dealing with the capacity building of embarking countries to understand on how expert in developing economies like Pakistan in the past almost 60 years successfully operating 7 nuclear power plant. And now currently 6 nuclear power plant. So my work is on the small modular reactor technology development. We are working on how advanced nuclear power reactors contribute to the what's called hybrid energy system with higher shares of renewable, which is now one of the second track of this 50th Jubilee of International Nathiagali Summer College.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really important. And Professor Claudia, I know that you're attending this for the first time as well. And we, of course, know how important the contribution of Professor Abdul Salam has been. And I believe as part of the director of the center as well, there is a lot of legacy that you can also see in terms of what he has contributed. And perhaps that's what you're also highlighting in the program?
Absolutely, yeah. So Professor Abdul Salam has pioneered not only some remarkable breakthrough in physics that has changed the way we think about the fundamental forces of nature, that changed the way we think about how to unify the forces of nature. But what's really truly remarkable is that he has then used this to the next stage and used his ability to communicate and extract scientific processes as a way to unify us as humans, using science as a unifying force. And so this legacy is being present throughout all of the development that he created in the past 70 years or so. So this college is essential in so many different ways in setting up collaborations and discussions. And as you say, a lot of the interactions, a lot of the collaborations, they really are important in the after lecture part of it, in the communications. It's a thought process, and so it's essential to be there live, to be there in the same place for an extended period of time. And everybody gets to learn from that, as much the people receiving the lectures. I would say even more so the people giving the lectures, because every time you try to explain something, communicate something, you actually understand it for yourself in a different way.
You're also learning.
That's right. And so being able to share this, and it's really a two-way or multiple way to share knowledge, is enriching for everybody. But nowadays you may think, with the advances of technologies and some of the other challenges, you may think that remote learning is a possibility. And in fact, I would say there's no time as today that we really need more of this exchange than today. It's absolutely essential. We get so much to learn, but just being here in the same room and share those ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. That is something that is very, very essential, and perhaps you're right in the ways that we're evolving is perhaps something that we're losing out on, but we're very glad that this has been continuing for the past 50 years. And I'm sure we've seen a record of the kind of successes and contributions that this college has also achieved. And we also know that there are a lot of Nobel laureates that have been part of the faculty members in the past as well. In the ways that you've been heading this particular program, Manzoor Sahab, I want your take on when you look back at those 50 years, what are the major contributions that you see from this college?
Yeah, it started in 1976. In the earlier days, it was particle physics, high energy physics, just like core physics concepts. But later on, with the passage of time, we introduced new topics, the topics of frontiers, the topics of cutting edge technologies. So during last 50 years, we have seminars in colleges on laser technologies, plasma technologies, and this nuclear technologies and smaller modular reactors. We talked about this. So with the passage of time, we get on new topics. Recently, we have artificial intelligence and quantum technologies these days. So with the passage of time, we are having new concepts. We are discussing new topics in the Nathiagali Summer College.
Absolutely, and I'd explore this a little bit further with the faculty members as well. But before we do that, how do you differentiate this particular college from other such platforms or gatherings around the globe?
Yeah, it is unique in a sense that this college is meant for the students of MS and PhD students and the researcher from research organizations. The other colleges in the world, I think they will second us. They are for undergraduate students. So these colleges are specifically for specialized students. So this is the one difference. And another difference is that it has been held during last 50 years. I don't know any such college which has been held for so long. So in this way, it is very unique.
Absolutely, something that has been continuing for so long and essentially, of course, driving these discussions is very, very important. You mentioned AI and emerging technologies, and Dr. Hadid, I want your perspective on that, because now with the way that we're dealing with these emerging challenges and in the way that the world is evolving, of course, it's also impacting the ways we understand, the scientific community understands physics or nuclear physics and applied sciences, and how is it that we can actually use them to our advantage. And so I want your take on how is that changing, not just in the ways that we're interacting with each other as part of the scientific community, but in the ways that we are also challenged to address these changes, especially in terms of regulation, perhaps, of AI or its applications. How do you sort of navigate through these differences in the evolving world?
Yeah, yes. I would like to address it not in terms of regulation, but I would like to come to address it in the point of view of design, technology, and engineering. What are the main requirements from the developing world that indeed in need of emerging technology to enhance the economic? It is the affordable design and technology product, including from nuclear power. So in this regard, that we need to educate the young generation and then the existing scientists and technologists to come up with the affordable design or product of emerging nuclear power reactor technologies that are quick to construct and very safe and robust to operate, and then it is achievable, it is really affordable in point of view of electricity generations by the public, which is our existing economical situation among one of the challenge. The second is also need to have kind of the effort for the collaboration. So we really hope, of course it's already happening, that the summer college like International Nathiagali Summer College will become like the collaborative platform among young generation experts in our area, for example, in nuclear power, to collaborate together to come up on how to have the effective and efficient near-term deployable design and technology for their countries. Of course, we cannot forget that we need to cooperate with the technology developer countries. And then, however, that the communicators among the developing, the experts from developing economies will strengthen the position to come up with the shared experience, technology transfer, scientific knowledge transfer to come up to enhance capability together.
Absolutely. Dr. Hadid, you mentioned cooperation and collaboration, and they're very, very essential ingredients when we talk about any sort of partnership or achieving excellence anywhere, but they're very, very hard to achieve also, unfortunately. I want your take on, and excuse my ignorance, I just want to understand how much of a real exchange of knowledge exists between the scientific community. Are we really truly sharing the ideas that can help all of us and benefit all of us?
Yes, we did, and we are doing that, and then we are enhancing basically approach on how to come up with a more useful product for all, Yes, and then we at the IAEA, for which that the experts from Pakistan as well as the trainees from Pakistan collaborate and contribute through, for example, the collaborative research project, for example, and then we select, our approach is we have unity in diversity. We have diversified countries, our common needs, and we have diversified experts. For example, we need together, we have to perform kind of the gap analysis. This is what Pakistan has, and then this is what the country ABCD has, and this is what country XYZ doesn't have. Then we have exchange.
Play on each other's strengths.
Then time to come up with the exchange that there must be some common goals that need to be achieved. We are doing that. We did that. We accomplished a lot of things. Of course, we will get better for that.
And we do have a lot of common goals. And Professor Claudia, I want your take on that too, because a lot of the challenges that we're facing today are collective in nature and require collective responses. And so the scientific community really is essential as we move on to creating that change around us. But how do we actually enable the different ways in which our research and scientists can actually exchange that knowledge and work together, move forward towards peaceful understandings of the ways that we can solve each other's issues and problems just by talking to each other? And secondly, add to that with reference to how we want to, of course, create impact in society, perhaps in a larger way. A lot of the general public perhaps misses the link between a lot of these really hardcore scientific discussions, but maybe also applied nuclear sciences in particular, as to how much of an impact they have on our daily lives or on the general public and how relevant they are to our lives as well. And so how do we make that sort of gap and for our public to understand that that doesn't really exist? It's very, very essential to who we are and how we live our daily lives.
Part of, in particular, the uniqueness of this college is that it was built with the purpose in mind of not making progress in one particular direction, but using science for humanity. And this is really a collective endeavor, a unifying endeavor, which is in fact stronger by its diversity. And so it's really at the core of the college itself. And it's true that there's many different other schools out there that in fact are trying to mirror that, but this pioneered that process and is very much unique in that sense. I think it's true that from the outside it may give the impression that it's still very siloed in different fields of research, and people may get into a place but then they just focus on their own field of research. And it's challenging to actually burst the bubbles and make people talk together. So this format is essential for this. But when you go beyond the surface, you see that a lot of the development that happen in one field, they don't just have an impact in that particular field. They in fact have an impact across society, across nation, everywhere, across generations even. So that's remarkable. And so you can see that in the college itself, in the summer college, in that it started with much more formal topics, and as the years came in, there were more emerging sciences that came in, because you can see the applications of those more formal aspects into emerging sciences and other sciences that have more direct applications for your everyday life. I think nowadays, hopefully people see the application of AI in their everyday life, whether they want it or not. It is there, it is there almost in our face, if we want it or not. But all of those were in fact developed by very formal fields, by theoretical physicists, by fields looking at particle physicists, and in attempting to address some of the most challenging questions that we have faced as human beings, then addressing those in application for making everybody's a better life is somehow easier. It's not easier in technologically, it's not necessarily easier in practice, but in terms of the concepts, it's easy. Nature tells us how to deal with the most complicated concepts. And so now this is for us to learn from nature. It is for us to learn from this and to share it among us, to then apply it for us collectively.
And Dr. Hadid mentioned technology transfer. So how much of that is also easy when we especially talk about international or cross-border tech transfer?
So a lot of the research that we do is international by nature, and that's why colleges like this are so essential, because they capitalize on this the internationalization. But in fact, a lot of the tools we use, they have no language, so we can very
easily... Is the process easy?
The process is not necessarily straightforward, but it is there. It is transferable. It is very much transferable. And more and more, when we train as scientists, we may train in a particular field, but then we branch out in interfaces. And so there's a huge transfer of knowledge. We're not necessarily just one person with one discipline for the rest of our lives. And so all of those discussions are essential, and they do take place. It's hard to see what happens in the cooking itself, but in fact they do take place, and we can see the outcome of that in our everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's great because Professor Claudia is right. There's so much happening, and while it's happening, you don't really get to see it, which is why such platforms are really important, because they lead up to something eventually that will benefit us as societies and as people, or humanity in general. And so, Manzoor Sahab, I want your take also on the ways in which we're actually translating that into our young minds, our talented youth. I know you said that these are MS or PhD students also who are part of this college, and I understand that this college is dedicated to a certain advanced level perhaps. But how are we using that to also translate or trickle down within our educational institutes, within our young population, within many children who in fact are perhaps as bright as any other adult, and we've seen examples of that also. So how does that link, how is that established?
Yeah, we invite students from universities, MS and PhD students. They interact with the faculty members. And with the passage of time, we see that in the earlier colleges, participation from Pakistani students were very less. Now, with the passage of time, Pakistani students are participating more and more. They give lectures, they give competition in seminars and in poster competition. So students' contribution are getting increased. And these students, when they interact with the faculty members, they get chances of getting PhD positions with them abroad. So in this way, the students are getting benefits from these colleges.
Absolutely. Are there any particular challenges that you've faced in organizing these events, or perhaps do you see any possible ways that we can actually help make such platforms easier or more frequent in Pakistan or abroad? What sort of roadblocks do you see that should be removed?
Yeah, we are very fortunate that PAC is supporting us. Pakistan Atomic Energy Commission has full support in terms of finances, in terms of security. The challenges, I think, comes during last 10-20 years with the global changes. We are finding it hard to invite good scientists there. But we have some good scientists from abroad. But when you compare the first 25 with the last 25, we had a lot of Nobel laureates. They come here, but after that time, with the global changes, we are finding it hard to interact with the world-renowned scientists. So we try our best. We get success in some cases, and I think this in the present scenario of global changes, this Iran-Israel war, some of the speakers they went back; they are not coming here. So these are the challenges to us. We cannot do anything in it.
Absolutely, and this is important because, of course, whatever's happening in the world does impact a lot of these programs as well. But Dr. Hadid, how do we then motivate our scientists around the world or the communities around the world to participate even more eagerly? And you can give your personal example also in terms of why you chose to do this, and so why would others do the same?
So one of the platform is, of course, it is the task of the IAEA. The task of IAEA, one of our tasks, for example, within our task of the section of division, is to support partnership building. So in order to have such organizations of established school like Nathiagali more successful, there can be more bilaterals. For example, bilaterals meeting of 3 or 4 group of countries to identify common needs, common goal, and common challenges, common needs, and common goals. So we need to start with this more bilaterals and regionals discussion. For example, for Nathiagali College, we can have the activities, for example, communications between the international Nathiagali Summer College community or committee with a group of countries in Southeast Asia, for example, or in North Africa, and then to identify their need, then work together, then identify what are the lead topics interesting for that region. Then the Nathiagali Summer College will be designed in front of the curriculum. Of course, whatever already done is quite established. But then we will be able to address more of the need of the specific regions. To me, that one of the approach to me. And then IAEA, it's IAEA task to assist in this regard, and then including in my field on advanced reactor technology development.
Absolutely. Professor Claudia, how have you seen the differences in the ways that this community has changed over time, particularly when we talk about inclusivity? And I know you mentioned different areas around the world. So how are we encouraging more women to participate, different ethnicities to participate, people from marginalized communities to participate, from different gender groups? And so this is important essentially also when we talk about a true knowledge exchange. How are we creating or enabling these platforms or fostering these inclusive dialogues to happen?
Exactly. This is so profound. It is so important. I think there's much more awareness in those directions, but there's so much more that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to have a much better understanding that inclusivity is not just something we should be doing because that's to be nice, but it's really because this is the best way to do science. The best science and the best applications come from diverse group of people. And so we should really tap on the incredible expertise and potential that there is throughout the planet. And I guess Abdul Salam is an example of this. I think having more example and inspiring particularly the younger generation, but also not just the younger generation, also all of the communities around them, to relate with them and understand why this is so very important when there seems to be other more pressing challenges right here, right now. Why would you give all of this up and tackle some problems that may seem a little bit disconnected when in fact those are really essential for the long term? And so realizing, communicating with societies really across all levels, and not just with a particular sets of people, not just with the people that you want to include. In fact, it's a more global aspect than that, on the benefits of inclusivity. Often this is more used as a afterthought once something has been organized, then as an afterthought one checks up inclusivity, but I think it has to be rooted in the purpose of all of those exchanges. And again, this is why Salam pioneered all of this, because for him, it started from that. It started with the understanding that this was a strength that we had, us as humans, to being able to use that exchange to move forward. And so we have to build from that from the start.
Absolutely. Where do you think the barriers still exist, though? Is it the decision makers? Is it intrinsically a part of the system? Is it political? Where's the problem?
So there's a lot of goodwill, but there's still a lot of challenges along the way. There's communication challenges. There is also understanding that people have different perspective, and it's not because you're thinking that inclusivity should come in one particular way, that this is necessarily the best way. In fact, it has to be spontaneous. It cannot be something that can be forced upon policy making, because then it's just fake, it's artificial, and you're not necessarily connecting with the right people. So you actually need to have some sort of symbiosis. That level of communication is not perfect at the moment. I think we can do much more, and that comes with having a much longer term communication and dialogue beforehand, not just when it comes to organizing an event. It's something that has to be there from the outset, and it has to be something which is not there to fit someone's agenda or to fit some purposes of a particular pocket of the society. It has to be understood that it is for everybody.
Yeah, and it has to naturally evolve to that conference or event that you're targeting. For it to be just something that happens just so naturally and instinctively.
So adaptability to all of this is core. Communication is absolutely core for all of that.
Absolutely.
We need, as you say, we need to get together to better understand how we're going to move forward. It's not something that can be imposed from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. What are we doing about this, Manzoor Sahab? Are we actively pursuing ways in which we can make platforms such as this college more inclusive?
We are interacting. Permanently, we are interacting with these institutions. For example, we are continuously interacting with IAEA. We are interacting with the CERN. There are some other institutes. We are in constant interaction. So by using these interactions with these dialogues, we are moving ahead with this college.
Absolutely. This is very important because the ways, of course, that you said in diversification, this is important to understand how we move forward. But while we talk about inclusivity, Dr. Hadid, there's also the fact that the understanding perhaps of different challenges that we face today are also different, as we were talking about different perspectives. And so, for example, if we talk about climate change issues or energy conservation, people understand it in different ways. Some may not even think of it as an urgent problem, and in some communities it will manifest itself differently, so their entire perspective would be different. And so when we're talking about solving these areas and using science to increase the value of our lives or help make our lives more impactful, how is it then that these understandings also come in the way, and how do we change those perspectives when there may be people who don't understand the problem or not willing to accept the problem or don't even think there's a problem that exists?
Yes. First, communities and countries by default, there are already pre-existing or existing alliance. So like Professor Claudia mentions, that it cannot be forced. That community of scientists A will fit with community scientists B. We cannot be naive on some of the political realities, I think, and then particularly in the work of nuclear science and technology, it is the well or highly regulated activities, particularly when it comes to the technology transfer. Particularly when it comes to the fuel design and fuel cycle, for example, and then I will not go into that, but even in other fields, when it comes to technology transfer, then it must be phase-wise, by stage, and then so we need to have the programmatic we must be able to identify what is the symbiosis among different community of common goal, common challenge. Given the fact that some communities and countries, they already have some kind of the certain alliance. So we cannot have just come here and then we need to be united and then work to something else. Basically, it's not as straightforward of that. That again, I think phase-wise approach in coping with the need of partnership and then in science, engineering and technology, or particularly in our discussion for developing economy, third world countries, we need to come up with a sharpened approach. We need to sharpen our approach in how to effective way to reach our goal.
Absolutely. Professor Claudia, how are we also looking into the finances of it all, because at the end of the day, a lot of the activities that we do, even when we organize these platforms or when we do real research, there is money involved, and the financial aspects are very, very real for developing countries in particular, in how limited they may be and how they progress forward. How are we looking at this as a community?
So I think the key point is to understand that the benefit of it may not be in the short term, but it will be there, incredibly impactful in the long term. And so having that dialogue with governments, with universities, and with people who in fact do appreciate this and are committed to support those kind of initiatives is essential. In establishing some of the finances is essential to understand how it will work in the short term and then develop in the long term. So being able to have some programs where this is in fact exemplified and being able to follow people through and see the application is important to then scale it up.
Right. Is the IAEA doing something in this regard?
Yes. We have established running of the also coordinated research activities and dialogue forum, coordinated research project, and the other one is collaborating centers, for which that Pakistan hosts one of the collaborating center by Pakistan Institute of Engineering and Applied Science. PIAS is an IAEA collaborating center in the past 6-7 years for the reactor physics and development of computer codes for nuclear design engineering.
Right, absolutely. Manzoor Sahab, when we talk about these aspects, there's of course a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of research and R&D that of course the universities and the students and participants of the college are also looking at. Are there ways in which we're also making efforts in supporting these researches, not just financially but also through partnerships, as Dr. Hadid was saying, enabling those connections to happen?
Yeah. We have partnerships, just like this, just as he said that IAEA has collaboration with PIAS University for the last 7 years. We have collaboration with other institutes. We are associate member of CERN. We send our students there at CERN. They go there and do their research at CERN. And Sesame, sometimes we had partners of Sesame, so students go there to their research there. So we have some collaborating centers, just like CERN, IAEA, and Sesame.
Absolutely. This is wonderful because that's really the essence of it, and when we want to make that change happen, how we're supporting R&D to happen. Dr. Hadid, I'd also like you to share with the audience the ways in the fields that you're working in, the ways that it's impacting, and how you're relating both nuclear energy with renewable ways of working and in hybrid ways in which we can actually collaborate further and see, and for our audience to understand what really is the link here and how relevant it is for them.
Yes, it is. It will be my lecture,
yes,
the second lecture on Tuesday. This framework is basically quite straightforward. The world is now aiming for a net zero emission by 2050 or about 2060, and then we have the hard to abate sectors. We are combating the climate change and then reducing carbon dioxide emissions. One of the approaches, there are several things, in reducing the reliance on fossil energy, expanding the reliant role of renewable energy sources, which is intermittent, variable in nature. The nuclear, with a small amount, it is really energy intensive. With nuclear power, can be large nuclear power plant, medium-sized power plant, as well as advanced small modular reactors, on how this advanced nuclear power reactor with their advanced design and technology could cope or could be complementary with the fluctuating or intermittent renewable energy sources. We are also including the aspect of non-electric application for with nuclear power plant and together with renewable energy sources, not only to produce electricity, but also for any other non-electric application, seawater desalination, hydrogen production, district heating, and then coal gasification and liquefaction, and also powering the also called the data center.
Yeah.
For which that we have the talking about artificial intelligence data center that require a lot of massive power for it. Yeah. And then now it is proven that Pakistan developing in economies, but also one of the developing economies that also successful in operating nuclear power reactors. This will be the example for developing countries that we are capable, that the countries are capable in operating nuclear power plant, advanced reactor, advanced technology.
Sounds very interesting, and something I think that we can all learn a bit from. Fortunately, I won't be able to be part of the college, but I think it'll be very interesting for your audience. Claudia, I also want your perspective on the fields in which you've worked, because I know you're speaking about Abdul Salam's legacy at the event as well, but just a little bit also in terms of what you do. I've heard that you've been called the woman who broke the gravity theories of everything, and so would love to hear a bit more about how you did that.
Oh, I'd rather not break them. I'd rather unify them, so let's stick them together.
Right.
But sometimes we need to challenge ourselves in the foundations of how we think about things, so this is what it's all about. The type of research that I do, in fact, is very following from the legacy of Abdul Salam's research in theoretical physics and in trying to questioning the world around us at the most fundamental, really the most fundamental level. So we're asking ourselves questions like, what is the very nature of space and time, and what does it mean for it to be quantized, and what is the origin of the universe? So some of those questions may seem very formal, very abstract, but in fact the seed of all of those is something we all have. We all ask ourselves, where do we come from? Where are we going? What is going on around us? And so there's a huge transfer of thought process in how we go about questioning things about us, challenging things, not necessarily breaking everything all the time, but in fact challenging our perception of the world so that we can refine it and get to a better perspective. That's how we make progress, and that's how we make progress in theoretical foundational physics, but in fact in every field.
Yeah, it sounds fascinating, and I don't think we appreciate truly how much of these challenges and the fact that we question what we have taken for granted has actually evolved and contributed to our understanding of things, be it from the earlier scientists to where we stand today. This is what they've done. They've questioned what we've took for granted. And thank you very much, both of you, for doing that for us, and of course to the general scientific community as well. We're almost at the end of the show, so Manzoor Sahab, I'd just like your take on what are the expectations from this year's college. It is the 50th year. What you'd like to say to our audiences, and what sort of work or discussions can be expected from this college?
Yeah, this year we have 4 major topics. One of the topic is artificial intelligence and machine learning, and the second major topic is quantum technologies. We have a lot of applications. The students are very much interested in these 2 topics. And another topic is renewable energies, small and modular reactors. And in second week is plasma technology. So there are a lot of students, they are interested in it. And this is the 50th session. We are celebrating this 50 years. And we hope that we will continue this. Just like 50 years, we will have more 50 years.
Yeah. And then I'll invite you all back when we're celebrating 100 years of this college, and we'll all sit here and have a chat. Thank you so much, Manzoor Sahab, for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Hadid. Thank you, Professor Claudia, for being part of this discussion and for sharing with our viewers what a wonderful program the International Nathiagali Summer College is and how it's contributing for the past 50 years to the scientific community. It's happening from the 16th to the 28th of June in Nathiagali, of course, and we look forward to these discussions happening all around the world, contributing and making our lives better. That's all that we have from PTV World's Exclusive. I'm Maqbool, signing out.